Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're asking the question, are banks being able or sort of allowed by Thai immigration to dictate policy? Thought of making this video actually after reading a recent comment on our channel, quoting directly, "Just did my retirement visa extension 1 year. Bangkok Bank have frozen 800,000 baht of my funds for 3 months. I cannot touch it. Does not even show on the quick balance on my banking app. Also told me I must have 800,000 baht in my account 4 months before I apply for the next extension. Immigration says 2 months. Seems the bank is trying to take control." Yeah, I'm really concerned about this where the bank is saying this is what immigration policy is. We have people we talk to at immigration. They've told us many times they're as angry about this in certain ways as anybody else. Now, to be clear, if you're asking for a service from any bank, I'm not pointing out any particular bank, if you're asking for a service from them and they have terms of that service, that's one thing. So if you say, hey, I need an affidavit as to my balance in order to deal with my visa, can I please have that? And they say, yes, we will allow you to have that affidavit, but you need to keep your funds reserved, sequestered, whatever you want to call it, in our bank for this period of time before we will issue that affidavit. I don't like that policy, and frankly, I think that it's arbitrary and capricious, and I don't see where the banks get the right to do that. And also, I think the banks are forgetting that at the end of the day, we're the customers. It's not, they don't get to dictate to us. I find that really concerning, this whole reversal, this inversion of the entire dynamic that somehow we're beholden to them. But okay, you are asking for something from them and they are making a statement to a government entity. I can understand them setting their policy as, if you want our affidavit, these are the terms. I don't know what's going on here where they're saying, well, you also have to keep it here because we say so. And then meanwhile, immigration is saying something totally different. Look, at the end of the day, I've discussed this in other videos. I think unfortunately, and I'm hoping this will turn around sooner rather than later, especially in light of what I think are probably possible upcoming events, although nothing is a foregone conclusion. But I think, unfortunately, Thailand has been unduly influenced by, frankly, foreign interests, most notably the World Economic Forum, as well as the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the so-called OECD. I find this stuff really, really troubling, and I question whether it is in the national interests of Thailand. Just sort of off topic for a second, I get into a lot of this in much more of a deeper dive in our paid news service. For those who are interested, you can email us media@integrity-legal.com and we can get you information about how to get on the email list for the paid news service. Also worth pointing out that we also provide in-depth analysis on expat land, how all these policies interact, my thoughts on prognosticating on how this is going to work in the future. So if you're interested in that, check us out, media@integrity-legal.com. While I'm talking my book too, I think it's probably worth pointing out, also my better half and I set up a restaurant here in downtown Bangkok, Pancake Palace, breakfast anytime, and American diner style food. If you're interested in that, links in the description below. Come on by and see us. That said, going back to this, at the end of the day, I find this really concerning that, again, if you're asking for something from the bank and they have terms for that service, that's one thing. But where the bank is trying to say, no, this is the policy and this is what we say immigration needs, and immigration is saying something different, that is no good. I've talked about the term or the film Wag the Dog, and it comes from a saying at the beginning of the movie where it says, why does the dog wag its tail? Because the dog is smarter than the tail. Well, what happens if the tail is smarter than the dog? The tail would wag the dog. Well, basically it's talking about the inversion of things, and nobody's talking about relative intelligence here. What we're talking about is sometimes things become what we would call back in Kansas bass-ackwards, and that's what I'm seeing in terms of this banking policy and immigration policy and how the banks are now trying to tell people what immigration is going to be doing. That's just not the way it works. Again, this is telltale signs of World Economic Forum influence and public-private partnerships and all of this stuff. It's just bad policy, and I think it's going to lead to really bad outcomes for Thailand as people start seriously rethinking banking here, as well as even being here on a long-term basis and bringing their money here to both retire and invest here in the Kingdom of Thailand.